You know, both the original and this movie end with the song We Know the Way. Do you though? Disney? Do you really? Moana 2. Ugh. Okay, to be fair, could have been worse. Actually, could have been a whole lot worse. At the very least, it looks decent enough to be in theaters. That, I think, was one of my big questions that I had going into this, knowing that this was originally starting out as a streaming show. Is like, generally, that means a downgrade visually. Is this really going to look good enough for theaters? And yeah, yeah, I think it does. I'm not sure it looked quite as good as the first one, but like, it looks fine. So that already, they're kind of ahead. If you're wondering why I even saw this when it's very clear I had no interest, well, my kid is now old enough to occasionally want to do a hate watch. This was their first requested hate watch in a movie theater. They just wanted to see how bad it was going to be. And their ultimate takeaway was, it's not as bad as I thought, but it's not good. And I really can't disagree with that. This could have been so much worse. This could have been so much more painful. The seams and the stitching could have been a lot more evident. Not to say that it's seamless. It's not. If you break it down, you can figure out where the breaks were going to be for how it would have played out as a series. But it is not egregious in that. It is heading towards a single goal in a way that, while there are sort of the peaks and valleys that you kind of get from individual episodes, you at least see it's all heading in the same direction. So it's not quite as chopped up as you might have expected it to be. But it is across the board worse. There is nothing about it that is as good as the first one, and everything else, it's, nothing equals it. And it all is at least a little, if not noticeably worse. And that's, all of it. The writing, the music, the cast, the characters, everything is a little worse, a little bit more contrived, a little less authentic, and a little less charming. And if I were to break down sort of the major issues with this, well, okay, first of all, I'd say the biggest issue is they add three new significant supporting characters who go with Moana on her journey. Actually, let's back up a second. There's the fact that she's effectively on the same dang journey as she was last time. No, she's not trying to save her island this time, but it is go out to an unknown point and deal with a mythical something or other to fix a problem. It's the same damn thing. Oh, pick up Maui on the way while you're at it. It's the same damn story functionally. But we had three new characters, none of whom I remember their names. I kind of remember their roles. And no, this isn't like crazy foreign names. Like, I'm crap with names anyways. If you watch this channel regularly, I frequently forget characters' names. Even in long-running series, I forget characters' names. But like what we've got here is we have added to the boat that Moana has proven herself fully capable of piloting on her own. We now add an engineer who's like just this sort of standard. It's like we have Entrapta at home, sort of socially awkward, more interested in fixing up and improving the things to the point that it's actually causing other problems because she's not stopping to notice that. Yeah. There's her. I can at least see a reason to bring her along. Like if the boat needs changes, revisions, like, okay, maybe you can justify her. There is a guy who I just want to say he's a fanfic writer. Like his whole thing is, making the like the murals and the tapestries, telling the legends, like that's his thing. But he's like the biggest Maui fanboy freaking ever. And literally calls what he does fan fiction at one point. Like, okay, I'm not even gonna try to be vaguely subtle. He doesn't have a reason to be there. And then there's the farmer who not only has no reason to be there, doesn't want to be there, and is constantly complaining about the fact that he's there. Now, like, granted, there might be a logistical reason as to why these characters are there. I was sent out to get more popcorn. Or no, actually, it was the first batch of popcorn because the line was crazy. Not for this movie, but because Wicked was also playing. So we got in and we skipped the line for snacks initially, and I went back out to get snacks when I thought the line would have died down a bit. And as a result, I did miss the point at which they might have explained why these people are going along with Moana. But regardless of whatever narrative contrivance they've come up with as to why they're there, functionally, the problem is all three of them are comic relief. All three of these characters are there mostly to deliver jokes in slightly different flavors. And we already had comic relief in this movie. The first movie had Hey Hey, who was a pure comic relief character and did fine, did great even for that. And then you would get comedy out of Maui. That was plenty. Now you've added three new characters, two of which I can't really justify their presence logistically, at least that I can think of, but all three are delivering jokes more often than they're doing anything else. Oh, no. No. That's a bad idea. Especially because, like, Moana's a very compelling character. It worked really well with just her and Maui before. Why are you loading her up with new people? And then there's the songs. Okay. Not everyone loves Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's fine. I get that. However, love him or hate him, I think we can all agree that store brand diet imitation Lin-Manuel Miranda is worse. Whether you like his stuff or not, this is worse. Whatever you think of his work, somebody else trying to be him is worse. And it's not atrocious. They're not bad songs, but they're not good. And it's so clear how hard they're trying to sound like him. Like, you think back to that first Moana movie, his use of his eccentricities as a songwriter were actually pretty restrained in Moana. Like, his whole thing is like the rapid fire patter kind of thing. That's why his Hamilton is basically more rap than musical at times. But they gave him literally just one verse of patter singing in the first one, and it was during Maui's song. This time, they have at least one entire song that's nothing but patter, and that, again, is Maui. And then the engineer mechanic character that I mentioned, she gets a patter verse and something else, and I'm just listening to this, and they both drag so much, I'm like, oh no. Oh, it hurts to hear. When it's not doing the patter, it's better, but it's so on the nose. There's no here's our core theme and then expanding it out into anything else or tying it into other stuff. It's just like, here's the thing, and we're gonna keep saying the thing. Okay. Like, you can tell that there is less experience in the people doing this. And like, that, I'm sure they're perfectly nice people, but it feels and sounds exactly like the knockoff that it is. The knockoff that they were asked to make. Because I don't want to slam these songwriters, but like, they were obviously asked to make stuff that sounded like the other stuff, which means they were asked to imitate another creator, which is always a tough ask when you're basically telling somebody, yeah, don't be you, be this person. You're almost always got to get this as a result. So the songs are, oof. They've got this character in the middle who is pointless. Like, this is the biggest evidence, I think, that this was originally intended as a series, because there is this villain, sort of, not really. I'm just going to spoil this thing for the record. The plot is very predictable, so don't even sweat it. That she's basically inserted there, kind of like how Tamatoa was in the first one, except Tamatoa felt like a natural progression and like an escalation over time, because you saw that he was dangerous, but he's still kind of funny, but you're getting a taste of the danger before we get to the really big things with, you know, lava monsters and everything else. But here, there's this Batwoman who just really does nothing. has no purpose. And like her whole thing by the end, it turns out she wants Moana to succeed because it means she can leave the realm she's trapped in. And Moana succeeds at the end, and we never find out if this woman got out. So what was the goddamn point? What was the point of any of this? Well, it would have made more sense if her entire primary segment just existed as its own self-contained episode. It still wouldn't have been good, but it would have made more sense, the fact that she doesn't matter to the overall thing and doesn't show up again at the end. Oh, and okay, so they bring the Kakamora back. Disney, the Kakamora, what you chose to do with them was one of the most legitimately criticized aspects of that original movie, because again, like I am no expert on this, so don't take me as a cultural attaché on this whole thing, but that was not accurate to how the folkloric thing that you were taking the name from is, and the fact that you made them coconuts was very specifically criticized. And not only do you bring them back, they also don't need to be here functionally for the plot. It's a stopover. They basically facilitate the whole thing to happen with the Bat Lady. So yeah, this isn't a step in the journey. This is a stop and a delaying tactic to give us more of the thing that lots of people told you, actually, that wasn't good. So, again, I want to come back to my original point. This could have been worse. But the thing is, I also have nothing good to say about it, because there's nothing about it that is better than before. Everything is slightly worse, and the closest thing that comes to being about equal is the visuals. But there really weren't any images that hit me the way a lot of the images in the first Moana did. So I'm still going to say that even those are slightly worse, just it's the lowest, it's the least downgraded aspect, and everything else is downgraded as well to greater degrees than that. Little kids are going to like it. Like I said, it wasn't a packed theater, but there were a lot more people in the theater than I'm used to having at a matinee show in my local tiny ass theater. Young kids will like it. I could hear young kids laughing, clapping, fine. But like, once you're old enough to sort of start to refine your quality senses for your entertainment, no, it's just worse. It's just worse across the board. So like, if you have young kids who want to see it, sure, take them. They'll have a good time. But if you have older kids who grew up on the original, they're probably going to see all the problems wrong with this. And if you're a Disney adult or just someone who loves animation and wants animated things to be good, yeah, no, you're just going to see all the problems with this. It's it's rough. It's just rough. And I heard some speculation that I think makes sense to me, that the reason this ended up in theaters, despite just across the board being bad, because the way they tried to pitch it to us was that, oh, we were going to do it as a series, but like it was turning out so good, we have to put it into theaters. Well, obviously that's not true. Or if it is, then I don't trust your ability to recognize quality anymore. You know, kind of like what happened with Kathleen Kennedy with her insistence of firing the original directors for Solo, a Star Wars story, because they were messing up the script and the script was too good to be messed with. And then we saw the movie and the script was not that good. But I also understood why an executive would think it was good, because it checked all the boxes. But anyway, that minor tangent. Circling back, yeah, you didn't put this into theaters because it was just too good to go on streaming. What probably happened is you approved this and budgeted for it back before it fully sunk in that streaming is not really a good revenue source. It is instead a money pit, and that you pour a ton of money into things that you put out on streaming. You don't really see the returns on that. All of these industries, all of these streaming studios and whatnot have had to learn the hard way that they make less money having a streaming service than they did through the old models of television and cable. But now those models are nowhere near as profitable as they used to because of the disruption of streaming. I've done videos on this before. But anyways, the thing that I suspect is probably true is that they looked at how much money they were sinking into this, knew that they were not going to get that back really by putting it on streaming. And so they just went, put it in theaters. We may or may not make a profit off of it, but we will definitely make more money than if we just put it up on the streaming service, where we'll never be able to tangibly measure how much money we actually made by putting this out on there. Let's actually get some cash back for this. And I suspect that's the reason why it's here. I think it's in theaters because streaming is a money pit. And they're realizing that, and anything that they sunk enough money into that could be restructured as a movie, it's probably a good idea to do that if you can. So, yeah, Moana 2. Have you seen it? What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills. It enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like and share and subscribe. Links to other stuff I do down in the description. Don't worry too much about it, though, because we take a relaxed attitude around here. So just come on back next time you need a break. And now I'd like to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Goddess Elida, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Oliver B., Melissa Pedersen, Movie Turtle, Ulrich Bogdan, Loki Eris, Melinda Walters, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Renabi Likes the Poodle, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Adam RDL Taylor, Pal Barabajoggle, Mira G, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. They're all calmer this time because they're eating papaya. Whatever works.